the Adler podcast. It's episode 21. Feels like an eternity since I've been on this podcast. I was going to say a word. I'll wait 7-8 minutes before I say it. Lots of stuff has been going on in my life recently. I've been very sick, as Joe told you last week. But glad to be here. And thank you, Joe, for leading the show last week. It was a really good episode. Loved listening to it. Loved not cringing at my voice. That was really fun, not hearing my voice. How are you, Joe?
I'm good. It was, I have to admit, although it's nice to have you back on the podcast, it was kind of cool to hold down the fort kind of by myself last week. And yeah, I enjoyed it. I'm doing well. And now, unfortunately, we have Franco, who was ready to come back this week, is now, he's got apparently food poisoning today. So at least my best wishes to Franco. And if you're listening, I hope you get better.
Definitely. Get well soon. Franco, hopefully we'll see you next week. And thank you, obviously, to David last week for joining up with you, Joe. And he was a great host. I hope he'll be back on the show.
Yeah, he's keen to. He's keen to come back. He enjoyed it. But his whole thing is only if we do shorter episodes, because he doesn't like to commit to 2 hours at a time. He's got commitment issues.
Fair
it's
enough.
Okay.
Fair enough. I understand completely. Sometimes some of these episodes can be a bit daunting.
Yes.
We're not much for Evil Dead kind of like movies, short 1 hour, 90-minute movies. Yeah. We're more of a Lord of the Rings epic.
Yeah, I was going to say we're more like the Babylon of podcasts.
The Babylon of podcasts, yes, that's very true.
Where like it's disjointed, it's indulgent, you don't really know what's going on, but then at the end of the day you had fun. So
yes, that's very true. That's actually a really good parallel. I like that, the Babylon of podcasts. That should be our advertisement point for the Babylon of podcasts. How has your week been, Joe, so far?
It's been pretty good. Work has quieted down now, at least for the next 2 weeks since the season is officially over. Then once we start getting ready for season tickets and stuff like that, that'll be the next 2 weeks or so. I've got a holiday actually booked end of this month. I'll be going to Iceland for a couple of days, which I'm looking forward to a lot. And I've been watching a lot of stuff, particularly a lot of television. At the end of the show, I will have a review for How to Blow Up a Pipeline, and also you and I will be doing Peter Pan and Wendy, and I'll also be giving some initial, I think I'm about 40% of the way through, thoughts on Star Wars Jedi Survivor. That is the PlayStation 5 edition of that game. In terms of the TV I've been watching a lot. I was actually really upset. I had found the perfect TV show to watch whilst I was in the gym cycling, which is this docuseries from HBO called 100 Foot Wave. It's basically about this big wave surfer called Garrett McNamara, who his whole dream is to eventually surf a wave which is deemed 100 feet tall. And the 6 episodes follow him through that as he finds his place in Portugal, these gigantic waves. And it's incredible, like cinematic masterpiece level of like production. And you get to learn about these people and their commitment to this ridiculous sport that they, for some reason, they love doing. It's not just surfing like regular waves, these like 68, 70 feet like waves. Like it's like surfing a building, basically. But unfortunately, I finished the entire first season, and the second season hasn't come to Now TV just yet, which I hope it arrives soon, because I was really enjoying that. And I recommend it to anyone who isn't even a fan of surfing. If you've never like looked at surfing before, what will hook you in is just the adrenaline and the people that are involved in this. And as I said, the filmmaking aspect of it is ridiculous. It's incredible. And also, I've obviously been watching Succession, keeping up to date with that, and it's blowing my mind every week. But I think, controversial opinion here, I think the best show on television at the moment, and I might be biased because I'm the only one on this podcast that watches it, but so far its final season is blowing me away with what it's deciding to do, is Barry.
Okay.
The evolution that Barry has taken from an extremely comedic but very dark and cathartic first season, and has just progressively gotten darker and darker, and then there's more satire thrown in there, and there are themes, and there are also surreal elements to it. It is absolutely incredible what Bill Hader has done one with the character and now behind the camera because he directs this entire final season. Like, it has to be seen to be believed. And like for Barry, I don't think anyone has an excuse not to watch it because the episodes are mostly only 28 minutes long. They're very short. And the seasons, I think the first season is only 6 episodes long. And I think the rest of the seasons after that are only 8 episodes long. It's a very short, very snappy show, which I'm devastated it's going to come to an end. I don't know how it's going to end because I'm now 4 episodes in of, I think, 8 or 10 that there are going to be. And every week I'm just like, what are they going to do? It's kind of like Succession where all cards are being thrown on the table every single episode and you don't know what's going to happen. And it's great. We're in a really good time for TV right now, I think.
Yes, definitely. I was actually seeing some critics because I was scrolling through Twitter and looking at like comments on we're going to talk about this later on about the Writers Guild strike and so on. And I noticed a lot of people were like, who cares that writers are complaining? Kind of like, we've been getting a lot of shit on television. Of course, I said it 6 minutes in. We're getting a lot of shit on television recently, and that Hollywood writers are creatively bankrupt. And it was like, there's some really good stuff on TV right now.
Yeah.
Like Barry, obviously I don't watch, but I know it's very good. Like Succession, which I absolutely adore. A lot of other good stuff, like The Last of Us recently.
The Last of Us, White Lotus.
Which is very
fantastic.
good. I'll be starting White Lotus.
There was Mo, which you got me to watch, that I thought was really good as well.
Mo, which is really good. So there's a lot of good stuff on TV.
There's Rami, there's The Bear, there's so many.
There's Beef, which I want to mention now.
Beef is really good. I finished Beef last week. Beef is very good.
Oh, it's so good, eh?
Very good.
And that's really well written.
Yeah.
It's really, really well written. Apparently, there's another series on Netflix, which is very good, The Diplomat. I don't know if you've heard of that.
I haven't started it yet, but I have seen it on my homepage, but I haven't started it.
It's got 92% on Rotten Tomatoes. I've been hearing a lot of praise for it. I'll probably try and start it this week as well. So there's some very good stuff on TV, and I was quite confused by these comments. They were like, "There's nothing fresh in Hollywood, nothing interesting to watch." And like, there's quite a lot of good stuff, actually.
I tend to agree with that from a blockbuster film point of view. Like even like the trend that we're seeing now, that everything's being remade or everything's being rebooted. I mean, like, shit, in the last month we had news that not only Harry Potter's basically getting a reboot on television, but so is Twilight, you know? Like, in that respect, I can understand people being like, Hollywood's out of ideas. But in TV specifically, and you don't even have to go looking that far for it, there's really, really good stuff. Like, one I haven't even watched, which we're going to talk about later, is Severance. Severance was one of the best reviewed shows the year it came out, and I haven't even watched it yet. Better Call Saul finished just last year. Apparently it's one of the best TV shows ever.
Better Call Saul, of course.
There's
Jesus.
so much good TV, but there's also definitely a lot of mediocre television as well. I mean, you watch Willow, so there's always going to be some shit amongst the pile, but I think overall the quality of TV is better than the quality of film at the moment. Overall, I think so, especially because we had that delay from COVID, and now we're finally starting to get some of the films we were supposed to get.
We've been getting some good movies recently. These past few months.
It's been good. It's starting to catch up, but I think
the box office shows that as well, because the box office, many movies have been doing really well. Like we mentioned, Creed.
Yeah.
You talked. Obviously, you talked about Evil Dead Rise. Maybe they're not like movies which are going to win Oscars.
Yeah.
But they're very good, fun, entertaining movies to go and watch in the cinema.
Absolutely. That's why I think movies are now catching up. Because obviously, TV shows were still getting released throughout COVID because they just went straight to streaming. With movies, people were very hesitant because they're like, these cost so much money, we have to get some form of money back, so we'll hold them until they can release in theaters. But now films are starting to catch up. Like, I mean, Evil Dead Rise was meant to release, as far as I know, a year ago.
Yeah. And not in the cinemas.
Yeah. Which would have been terrible.
Streaming.
Terrible if they did that.
That would have been very disappointing. But anyways, anything else, Joe?
No, that's basically it from me.
Okay. In my case, I have watched quite a lot of stuff. Actually, the last thing I was watching, and I stopped midway through, which I'm actually surprised I was having quite a good time with it, and I'll finish it off after this episode. Is The Pope's Exorcist. Russell Crowe's The Pope's Exorcist. I like Russell Crowe. I like him a lot, so I might be biased here. But he gives a really good performance so far. He's been excellent. He's like his character is really interesting. He's he's quite a character in it. Overall, as a movie, it's very by the books, demon possession kind of movie.
Yeah.
But there's the obvious positive of there being a big star like Russell Crowe, who is effortlessly super charismatic in the whole thing.
Yeah.
So that kind of ups the quality a bit more than your usual bog standard demon possession movie. But so far, I'm having a good time with it. Like you, I watched Peter Pan and Wendy on Disney Plus with my girlfriend. She fell asleep midway through, but she was quite tired, so I wouldn't blame that on the movie.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it.
I
thought it was okay. I watched the first 2 episodes of Citadel. I was actually in Rome last weekend, and the amount of adverts I saw for Citadel.
Yeah, they're everywhere here.
Metros,
on every buses. Yeah, buses and everything over here in the UK.
They spent a lot of money on advertising it. And I don't know. I'm not going to review Citadel, so I might as well say my opinion here. It's very box standard spy stuff. Feels very...
I mean, so it's from the Rousseaus, so I expect it.
I don't know where... They were talking about the 300 million they spent on it.
Yeah.
Where did the money go for this? The first 2 episodes were really, really average TV. I'm not going to say they were bad per se, but the thing that really worries me is I really like Richard Madden. I think The Bodyguard. Have you watched The Bodyguard?
The Bodyguard's fantastic.
So good. Excellent series. And I feel like they're getting a really bad performance out of Richard Madden, which is very, very difficult to do because he's a fantastic actor. He's a really, really good actor. And the fact that the Russos are getting a really bad performance out of him is very worrying because Richard Madden, again, fantastic actor in my opinion.
Yeah.
So that's a bit worrying. And the set pieces so far have been very, very average, like no big, like even if the writing is not good, let's be honest here. The writing is not good at all. Like the dialogue and so on. There are some jokes where I was like, my girlfriend wasn't watching it. She was working on something. I turned to my girlfriend like, whoa, this is bad. The set pieces are okay, but again, nothing special. It's like no big action sequences where you're like, oh, this is really fun.
Yeah.
Like something like, for example, I'm thinking of the recent like spy thriller stuff I've watched. What have I watched?
I can't even think spy thriller recently. I think the most recent spy thriller I've seen would be like Black Widow, and that was terrible.
Oh God, no. But I compare this to something like Jason Bourne, for example, the Bourne series. This is there, and Bourne series up there.
Actually,
I love the Bourne series.
Technically, the latest spy thriller we watched was Andor. Technically.
Fair enough. Yes.
Yeah, and
true.
That's written by the guy who wrote the Bourne trilogy, Tony Gilroy. So. True.
I love the Bourne. Have you read the books, by the way, Joe?
Never read the books, no.
I've read the first 2 books. I have to continue that series. They're very good. The books are very good.
I'm sure.
I have a big love for the movies, though. So me and my dad, those were
the first 3 I really like.
Movies.
Yeah, the first 3 I think are really good, and I think you didn't need to do any more after that.
What? Then they released another movie right after. Then there was the one without Matt Damon.
Yeah, there was the one with Jeremy Renner, and then there was just Jason Bourne after that.
And then there was Jason Bourne, which was...
Yeah, it was just okay.
Yeah. I love Bourne Ultimatum.
Yes.
The scene in the airport. Oh, that was so good. That was so tense. That's really good. I love the scenes where he's like, they're talking to him and suddenly I'm looking at you and you see him pointing at them, aiming at them with the sniper. They're very satisfying movies to watch.
Yeah.
But anyways, so Citadel, average. I don't really recommend it, to be honest. Like you, I also watched Succession. What's there to say? I mean, fucking hell.
There's too much to say about Succession. We can't do it.
Very good. Podcast. We'll just do a Succession season finale discussion at the end.
Yeah.
Because it's just like... it's mind-blowing that something can be this good on TV.
I keep pinching myself and reminding myself that the person writing this is also the same guy that did Mitchell and Webb, and I'm just like, how does that make any sense? Like, that is no disrespect to Mitchell and Webb. That is one of the best British comedies ever made. But I don't know how you go from like silly British sitcom style comedy to really deep character drama with biting satire and dark comedy. Like, he's obviously just extremely talented.
They're doing it though.
Yes.
Very, very, very good. Like some of the best lines I've heard in a very long time. Like even this episode alone, the Carl and Kendall scene. I'm not going to mention what they say.
So good.
Involving dicks though. That was like perfect quote.
For me,
the whole scene with Ken.
Yeah. For me, the season is just reaffirming why Roman was always my favorite character, because he's having those really deep character moments, and he's still like outward shithead Roman at times. And there was the scene in this episode of where he's like, oh no, it's like, you take those condolences back. I've had enough. Tummy full. Moving on.
Man, Kieran Culkin.
Oh, he's fantastic.
I know I've seen him in stuff.
Yeah.
But he's never been this good.
No, this is his.
I don't think he's ever had the material though.
Exactly. He's never had the platform as well. This is his best role to date so far.
True. Because Mark Strong, obviously, brilliant actor.
Yeah.
And Shiv, what's her name?
Sarah Snook.
Sarah Snook. I don't think I've ever seen her in anything too big either.
I actually, I kind of felt like to myself like I discovered her because I watched this pretty like small sci-fi film a couple of years back with Ethan Hawke called Predestination. And she was kind of secretly the star of that film. And I remember thinking at the time, like, this woman's really good. Like, where the hell is, like, what's she going to do next? And then she kind of went under the radar a bit, but then came back in Succession. And that's when I first started watching Succession. I'm like, oh shit, it's Sarah Snook. She was in that film Predestination. I really liked that movie. She was really good in that. And then lo and behold, she's really good in this. So yeah.
Well, I mean, everything is absolute quality, like the costumes, the outfits they have, the Sarah Snook's outfits.
It's ridiculous. Like, again, we're gonna have to set aside one episode once the show is over.
Definitely.
To just sit and chat between the two of us and probably cry that it's over.
And just to talk about what was it, the capacious bag? What that was it capacious?
I think that was the word. We'll just talk about handbags. That's all we'll do.
It's what's she hiding there? She's that quote. It's everywhere on Twitter. It's so funny. It's so good. Well, that's Succession. I think that's pretty much me. I watched a few movies last week as well. I watched a lot of classics because whenever I'm sick, that's what I do. I watch a lot of classics. They put me in a good mood. You know what I watched, which I just want to mention. I watched, I can't remember the name. If I remember, I'll mention it later on, though. I don't want to waste time. But I watched a big classic, which I can't believe I'm forgetting. But anyways, let's get into it. So, guys, what is the Adler podcast all about? It's all about movies, all about series, all about video games. Today's episode, as always, will be split up into us, as we've already done, talking about our week. That is ready. We're now going to get into the news. We've got some news, some trailers to talk about, some Gladiator news, Maxxxine, and so on. We'll get into that. Then we're going to get into our reviews. This week, we've got 3 big reviews. Obviously, first we'll talk about Peter Pan and Wendy, which both me and Joe have watched. After that, Joe will be giving us his review for How to Blow Up a Pipeline. And finally, Joe will also give us his first impressions and a review of Star Wars Jedi Survivor. And then we'll kind of use that to segue into a bit of a discussion about, like, I have a bit of a rant, basically, about the state of PC gaming and PC ports and so on. I'm a PC gamer, so this hits at heart. I've spent a lot of money on my PC. I want to play decent games, which do not stutter every few seconds. But we'll get into that later on. So, Joe, help me out a bit, because my throat is hurting. What should our audience do?
As always, if you are enjoying the show, please let us know in the comments section below. Like, subscribe on YouTube. You can find us on all forms of social media. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok. You can listen to us on Spotify if you don't want to watch. Along with the podcast, you can find us on Google Podcasts, and I believe anywhere else you can find your podcast. We're pretty inactive on Twitter, but I don't know if that will change. I think Twitter's kind of like a strange wasteland from Mad Max at the moment of Elon Musk taking over. But yeah, you can find us everywhere. We're everywhere, and we're here every week. So,
yep, putting in all our effort to keep this a weekly thing. Not always easy, but I think so far we've been doing a very good job.
Yeah, we
only skipped 1 week so far, so to be fair.
And that was just like a whole clusterfuck of things coming together.
Like I've been very, very sick in the past few weeks.
Yeah,
but this is a piece of news I've been looking forward to talk about for a very, very, very long time on this show, because the first movie was, I think, one of my favorite movies of recent years. If you know me, you probably already know which movie I'm talking about, and that is Dune Part 2 trailer. We get our first actual look at the whole cast: Florence Pugh, Austin Butler, and yes, it's time to return to the dunes of Arrakis, at Warner Brothers has just released a stunning first look trailer at the highly anticipated Dune Part 2. Epic Tease features first looks at Florence Pugh's Princess Rulan and Austin Butler's terrifying Fade Rota Harkonnen, as well as giving us a glimpse of the pivotal moment of the film, Timothée Chalamet riding a gigantic sandworm. I still don't understand what practical sandworm that was, but maybe we can discuss it now. So, Joe, you watched the trailer.
I did.
Dune Part 2. Your first impressions. What do you think?
I'll start with a little bit about my relationship with Dune. Dune was a book from my late teens, which I really wanted to get into, just because I kind of, speaking of like what a fucking shithead late teenager I was, I thought it would make me like somewhat sophisticated if I managed to read Dune. And like I could like look down my nose at people like, I've read Dune and you haven't. It's a very hard book to read, still is. But I eventually did find a way to get through it with an audiobook. My problem is now at the age I am, for some reason I really struggle with reading. It just puts me to sleep straight away. So I listen to stuff now, and I listened to the Dune audiobook and I loved it, but I'm not going to pretend to be this massive like everything all in on Dune and like a massive loyalist to the books and stuff. I just really, really liked the first book, and I really liked the first film. It's one of my favorite directors of the modern age, Denis Villeneuve, and the cast is obviously fantastic. The first film was actually, I think, in my 20s, the first film I ever saw in IMAX, because I had moved to Scotland at the time, so we actually got things at IMAX, and was just
that's the perfect movie.
Yes, it was an absolute assault on the senses. But for me, it wasn't totally without some of its issues. I feel like it could have gotten a bit weirder, like the book is. But I also then say to myself, look, you're taking this extremely dense and deep, beloved science fiction book, and you're trying to adapt it into a film. That's probably the best modern day adaptation we're going to see of the part one of Dune. And then, like, with the press around this trailer, like coming out of CinemaCon and stuff, I was like, are people blowing this out of proportion? Does it look that good? And then I see this trailer, and we have like this moment here where he's running through the dunes and then falling, and I'm fucking all in. Like I didn't know I could get this excited for a Dune movie, even though I was pretty excited for the first one. But now seeing this and the way it's been described as just an all-out epic war movie, which is probably going to be about 3 hours long. Shit, yeah. Give me 4 hours if it's going to look like this and it's going to feel like this. The cast looks perfect, and it looks like it's just going to be a huge epic conclusion to the story. Like I can't imagine a world where it's not good with the talent involved as well.
No, I can't either. Like Denis Villeneuve, so far, he's not had any like.
That he's got an like. it's
almost
ridiculous.
flawless.
Yeah, I would say completely
list of
flawless,
movies.
because even if you look at probably his most like retracted film, which is Enemy, that still has its hugely like deep cult following of people that study that film and its like meditations on like fascism and stuff like that. It's a ridiculously dense film, Enemy. It's just not a very good mainstream film. But then, like, this is the guy like with. I've got a funny story about Arrival, because I was really excited for that to come out at the time, and I made a friend of mine come with me like the day it released. And I remember we were standing in line at Eden Cinemas. We were getting in line to get like some snacks and some popcorn and whatever. And he's like, "Joe, I hope you know that today my copy of the remake of Final Fantasy VII just arrived at home for the PS4. It's like, and I'm coming to the cinema to watch this movie with you." It's like, this film better change my life, or we're not friends anymore. It's like, because I've been waiting for this game all my life. I remember like final moment of the film hit and like the credits started to roll. I looked over at him, and he was just like, "Holy shit!" And I'm like, rating out of 10. He's like, "That's a 12." Like straight away. Like this is the guy that like somehow made a Blade Runner sequel as good, if not in some ways better than the original.
Not better than the original.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even
Enemy, I actually did quite like Enemy.
I really like Enemy. It's actually, it's just not everyone's cup of tea, and I get it. Prisoners is fantastic.
Prisoners, I remember watching Prisoners when I was in Erasmus. I watched Prisoners, I think, in IMAX. I'm not sure if I watched it in IMAX or was it out in IMAX?
I don't think so. I don't think it was an IMAX film. Have you watched any of his French language stuff?
No.
What you need to do, what you absolutely...
Enemy, Sicario, Arrival, Blade Runner, and obviously Dune.
What you need to do... I had seen one of his first films, Polytechnique, which is it's a brutally heavy film. It's about a school shooting in Canada. It's all in black and white. Really good. What you need to do, a film which like made him one of my favorite filmmakers, probably of like my life. He's got a film called Incendie, spelled Incendies. That is an incredible drama, like one of the best I've ever seen. I usually like, it's kind of a film which I like, people go like, "Oh, I want to get into foreign films." I go, "Try this." I push it their way. It can be a tough watch, like it's rough, but it's really, really, really good.
So on Sundays, all right. So it's this. That's it. On Sundays.
Yeah, that's the one. Oh, so good. So good.
All right. Gonna go on my list then. I mean, I love.
Proceed with caution. That's what I'll tell you.
All right. I love his style. His directorial style is just my cup of tea. It's like sometimes there are certain directors and writers who it's a bit snobbish of me to say, but I feel like they write for me. It's like they know what I want, and they give me what I want.
Yeah, that's how I felt with it's how I felt with this film, because for me, in a way, no one is better at delivering a gut punch at the moment with like subtlety but still a massive like cannonball effect than Denis Villeneuve at the moment, because he has this thing where he gets these big reveals out of characters without actually saying anything. Like you have the moment of Blade Runner 2049 where the character of Ryan Gosling's character Joe, he's convinced that he's this child that was born from a replicant, and the moment he finds out, like he's not even like explicitly told, he's kind of got to connect the dots in his head, and as the audience you kind of do it with him, and that's the best part that Villeneuve does. Even with Arrival, the whole thing at the end, he doesn't spell it out for you, you figure out shit as the characters figure out shit. Which is he's a very special director, and I'll watch anything he does.
And Sicario.
Sicario is fantastic.
Have you tried to watch the second Sicario?
I've seen the second Sicario. It's okay.
It's okay.
It's just okay.
The second one. His reactions were meh, and I mean, I think Villeneuve's directorial style is what.
Yes, no, that's what made it special.
What made it special?
It's that, and he got Roger Deakins to shoot this for him as well.
Exactly. Oh, and Roger Deakins and Villeneuve. That's
match made in
match
heaven.
made in heaven.
Yeah.
Villeneuve didn't do Arrival though. Sorry, Deakins didn't do Arrival though, did he?
No. I think that was Hoyte van Hoytema. I think. I could be wrong on that. But no, he only worked with Deakins on no, he worked with Deakins twice, because Deakins did Blade Runner 2049 for him, and Deakins finally won the Oscar for best cinematography for that film.
Talking about Arrival, that had that Max Richter song we talked about in The Last of Us as well.
Yeah.
Oh, such a good song. But yeah, I am super excited for Dune Part 2. It's like, I think it's my number one, like, the movie I'm most looking forward to watch this year. Basically, it's anything Denis Villeneuve does, I will be there day one, ready, and ready to put 5 stars on my Letterboxd account. I've been doing a lot of work on my Letterboxd
Oh yeah?
account. Yeah, I've been putting in the effort to... so far, I haven't written too many reviews, but I'm putting in the ratings, though. And it's a good way to keep track of what I've been watching as well.
Yeah.
So that is Dune Part 2 trailer. We are obviously super excited for that. Can't wait. November 3rd, I believe, comes out.
Yeah, I think so. All I know is that November and October are going to be crazy, as far as I know.
Yep. Next up, a movie that's actually going to be shooting in Malta has another big name joining an already very big cast. And that is Pedro Pascal, because like Collider tells us, it's Pedro Pascal's world and we're just living in it. Obviously, after delivering big performance in The Last of Us, not much of a big performance in The Mandalorian because he was barely on set. All I had to do was read a few lines. But Pascal is set to star in Ridley Scott's Gladiator sequel. Deadline has reported. Details of his character are being tightly kept under wraps. Joe, I'm going to ask you a general question, and then we can get into obviously the specifics of Pedro Pascal's. We've heard a lot about the casting of Barry Keoghan, Joseph Quinn, obviously Connie Nielsen returning, Denzel Washington, who I'm super excited to know who he's going to be performing as. That is one very interesting casting choice. So far, Joe, your impressions. This doesn't look like a cash grab with these names.
No, like I don't think, like, in his absolute defense, Ridley Scott isn't one for cash grabs, to be completely honest. He always fully believes in the projects that he's picking up, and people want to work with him. So it's no surprise he's getting the cast that he has. Like, I can't even, like, I wouldn't even say, like, Alien Covenant is a cash grab, because again, he wanted to do something different with the Alien franchise there. Like, he always has a purpose. That's why I can always appreciate a Ridley Scott film, although, like, there's a few fucking duds in there, some big ones, but, like, still, I think I'm more curious to know who's writing this Gladiator sequel before I fully decide on whether to be excited, because it's exciting to see Ridley coming back, because even I thought his last film, I don't know if it was his, I think it wasn't his last film, House of Gucci.
House of Gucci, yes.
House of Gucci, number one, is...
Or the
Last Duel. That's why I can't remember. The Last Duel was really good, in my opinion.
Last Duel was excellent.
Excellent. And say what you want about House of Gucci, it was fucking hilarious. Like, I thought House of Gucci was more a comedy than it was a drama for me.
I had a lot of big issues with it. To
be honest, as soon as Jared Leto came on the screen doing that accent, I'm like, I'm switching off my brain from now on. This is a comedy, and I'm gonna enjoy it. And for me, it was hilarious.
I'm sorry, I'm a big hater of Jared Leto. I try.
Oh no, I think he's mostly rubbish as well. Mostly a very bad actor.
Oh God, that accent.
Yeah, terrible.
I wasn't sure if I should be laughing or if I should be cringing, or
I think laughing. It's just one line is like, where I need to soar like a pigeon. I'm like, who the hell wrote this?
Mamma mia, that was so bad. I mean, let's not get into Jared Leto though. So be here.
On Pedro Pascal, we haven't had this conversation yet. I mean, probably won't. But did you finish The Mandalorian?
Yes, I finished it.
Give me a review in less than 10 words.
Very meh. I think meh is the perfect word to describe the final episode.
Yeah, my review for the whole season would be it isn't good, it's bad.
It's bad. I don't think I'd call it bad.
It's bad. I have a lot of issues with that show. A lot.
I feel like we missed out the episode where we were supposed to discuss the whole thing.
We did. We can still do an extra episode at some point where we do like a retrospective on it. But like, it's annoying because the penultimate episode, I'm like, okay, this is actually getting kind of good. What are they going to do with this? And then they just shat the bed on the final episode.
Episode 7 was really good. I really liked episode 7. But
they shut the bed completely.
They set up the Dark Council. That was a very good scene, like seeing the Dark Council. And it was like they were setting up a lot of exciting stuff for episode. It was the most vanilla of episodes. Nothing exciting happened. Nothing at all. Very, very, very badly written as well.
Do not get me started on what they did to Moff Gideon and poor Giancarlo Esposito, who's a great actor, but his entire character that show was to be angry and to tell the Mandalorian what his plans were every time he sees him.
Imagine having a CCTV system throughout your whole your whole place, and like you're not going exactly to where he is, where it's like they can see exactly where he is. They're following him. And they're just letting him in the room with all the fucking Shisama.
Well, like the clones he had.
All the clones.
But like my whole thing about that is like where he interrupts them, like, and he's like, I made this armor made out of Beskar because we're making a new kind of clone trooper. And then at the end, when he kills the clones, it's like, I wanted an army of force-sensitive, like, fucking clones. And you're like, how, like, we're going to have to do an episode about this, because, like, I'll go off.
Imagine spending a whole episode pretending you're Andor, trying to set up the whole concept of... and then just ruining the whole thing in, like, 5 minutes, not even 5 minutes.
10 seconds.
Like 10 seconds. It's like, boop, destroyed, boom. That's it.
I'll go off. Let's get back to Gladiator. I am cautiously optimistic about this film. And it's good I like Pedro Pascal, even though he's not actually in The Mandalorian. I like him in The Last of Us. I like him in everything else he does, and I'm sure he'll be good in this.
Yes. Pedro Pascal is, I mean, he's super charismatic. I'll watch anything with him in it. He's so good. He's very good. With regard to Gladiator, I mean, Gladiator is, I think, will always be one of my all-time favorite movies. It's like, it's pure cinema. From the opening scene in Germania, the whole battle scene.
Such a good opening.
Like 13, 14 epic minutes of one big battle. The soundtrack is, I think, the first piece of music I ever bought. I think it would be the Gladiator soundtrack would be the first piece of music I ever personally bought with my money. I bought the the CD back in the days of buying CDs. I mean, I recently watched a lot of scenes from it. The CGI still kind of holds.
Oh yeah, definitely does, because
the backdrop of Rome.
Yeah, that was back in the day where you had to use it really intelligently.
And even the Colosseum itself, does not look half bad. I'm watching it.
A lot of the Colosseums were practical sets. Like they had them in Malta as well. I went on school outings to see those sets.
But the backdrop of Rome,
no, that's all
absolutely great. Still. I remember turning to my girlfriend, telling her, "Man, we watched Ant-Man, and this looks better than Ant-Man. I swear." I was watching it on YouTube quality, so so there we go. So obviously, Gladiator is one of the movies that will form me as a person, I think. such a quotable movie, like so many good moments, like epic moments, super emotional. It's got everything basically. Brilliant performance.
Yeah.
Obviously, Ridley Scott's directorial style in it, chef's kiss.
Yeah.
So I am, I'd say, very excited for it. And like I said, I can't wait to find out what Denzel Washington is doing in this movie.
I think I'm hoping he's going to be like another Proximo. I think that's such a good role for him. As like owner of the Gladiators, I think he'll be really good at something like that.
Because I know the plot is going to be the brothers fighting for who's going to be emperor.
Yeah.
And eventually one of them will be killed by the other through an assassination. I think they send the Praetorian Guard to kill him. I think I've read some of the story. And then I was wondering, is there going to be some kind of like a slave rebellion where there's Denzel Washington leading the rebellion?
Maybe that'd be cool as well.
And I was wondering if that could be a role for him. I don't know. But I mean, anything again. You know what I've watched recently again, Joe? By the way, I rewatched the Equalizer movies because I heard about Equalizer 3. I was like, I need to watch Equalizer 1 and 2 again.
I've only ever watched the first one.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah,
really
I enjoyed the first one.
Okie dokies. So that was our Gladiator news. Next up, a movie I still have not watched, but I will try and watch on Friday. Hopefully nothing comes up. Evil Dead Rise, which has been doing really well at the global box office. Evil Dead Rise is slowly but surely crawling its way up to box office success, as the film has managed to earn $86.5 million at the worldwide box office after being screened in movie theaters over the course of 2 weekends. The Cronin's new installment in the classic supernatural horror franchise saw spectacular holdovers, territories such as Saudi Arabia, Colombia and Peru, establishing that audiences simply can't get enough of these new characters who run into a volume of the Necronomicon. Comes to the domestic box office numbers, Evil Dead Rise has earned $44.4 million as of today. So a very, I think for, I don't know, do you know the budget of Evil Dead Rise, Joe?
20 million apparently.
So there we go. We're definitely getting another Evil Dead movie.
Yeah.
I mean, the reactions have been very good. Everyone's praising Alyssa Sutherland's performance.
Yeah, no, she's fantastic. Like, it makes me really happy as someone who liked these movies growing up, and virtually no one knows about them unless you're a film fan. It's really nice to see at least one of them getting significant mainstream attention, and also props to fucking Warner Brothers on the campaign trail that they've had for this, and even all the cast members and even the director Lee Cronin sharing stuff on their Twitter, and they've been doing behind the scenes and the build up for the film. I don't know if you've seen at some screenings, like in the US, they've had like performers come in like they're deadites, like crawling through the theaters and stuff like that. It's been so because like, I mean, Evil Dead is the original like cult, like horror cult classic of like where people would arrange these screenings by themselves, kind of thing. So it's nice that now you're getting that vibe on a much bigger scale. And we were just looking about like CGI in modern films, and you like mentioned Gladiator and Ant-Man and stuff like that. One thing I forgot to mention in my review of this film last week is there's definitely CGI in this film.
Yeah.
But I didn't notice it. The whole film, like, wild things are happening, and all of it looks 100% real.
Nice.
There's no like majorly, and as well, they did a lot of stuff. I mean, it's no spoiler to say of like people getting thrown around or like getting pulled and stuff like that. They did a lot of that.
People get thrown around.
I mean, in an Evil Dead movie, no way. But they did a lot of that practically with like wires and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, there was Alyssa Sutherland. She shared a clip recently where there's a moment where she's carrying like a basket of clothes like down the hallway, and she gets yanked backwards. And she shared a clip from the behind the scenes where it shows her like walking out of this hallway and then getting yanked backwards by like the wires on her back. So the the more time goes on from the Evil Dead Rise, the more I like it. And I told myself the other day, it was thankfully before I had been paid, so I didn't. So I'm like, I could go to the cinema and watch it again.
I'm really excited to watch that this weekend. I'm really, really excited.
I think. Did you watch the 2013 reboot?
Yes. By the way, I watched it. I watched it last
think?
week when I was sick. Yeah, I really liked it. I liked it a lot. Some of the dialogue was a bit.
Yeah, it's a little bit dumb, but like it's the bad side of dumb, where like the characters are like idiots, but it's really entertaining
as well. Some of the performances from the boy
and the blood, the amount of blood in that
like
film.
The ending with when it was raining blood. That was
so badass.
That was beautiful. That was beautiful. That was a beautiful scene. And I loved all the little references they made as well in it. So you could tell because this is something. So I watched. I really wanted to talk about the Witcher trailer last week, but I couldn't. I was sick, because I was really wanted to talk about. Anyways, but you could tell the people who are making that movie adore the originals. You could tell they adore the originals because the amount of references they make shows.
It's the exact same with Evil Dead Rise.
We love we love like Sam Raimi and his style and everything those movies represent, and we just want to make a good movie which kind of like is still linked with the originals but is its own thing as well, but without ever disrespecting like the originals or in any way.
I like that they haven't gone for the goofy tongue-in-cheek Ash Williams style thing, and now they're trying to be like action horror films, which is probably the best direction for it to go in. I said it in my review last week, but I think the only time you go back to wacky and goofy is if Bruce Campbell comes back. You can't have the wacky and goofy without Ash Williams in it. You just can't.
Exactly. I think he's like because I was reading about Ash versus the Evil Dead, and they were talking about how like there's this nice juxtaposition where there's like the goofy Ash in it, but at the same time, whenever he's not on screen, you could tell how dangerous the Deadites are.
Absolutely,
I haven't watched. I've watched like a couple of episodes so far because I started it. I'm really enjoying it so far.
It's weird at times. It's really good.
But yeah, I'm liking it. So again, I agree with you. I would imagine maybe in the next movie we might get to see Bruce Campbell again. I think
I don't know because he's only said. He said he's done with like the films. He said he'll produce them and he'll promote them because he loves the world. He said he'll only appear in a film if Sam Raimi is directing.
Oh no, he's not going to be in it.
Well, I would love to see Raimi come back.
Director. I think they were talking about the same director. Who directed Evil Dead Rise?
Lee Cronin.
Yeah, he's going to be directing if there's going to be another one.
Yeah, he's a good choice. He's very good.
They're going to be...
In fact, he's better than very good. He's fantastic. The direction in Evil Dead Rise is brilliant.
Nice. I'm really looking forward to watching it. Okay, so that is Evil Dead Rise. So, again, another movie, Joe, which, it's a good movie. And when you, surprise, when you produce good movies, you get good results at the box office.
Yeah.
Who would have known?
Yeah, go figure.
Go figure. And not releasing your movie also on a streamer really helps.
Yep.
Your numbers. Surprise. Another movie, which I think we can all say is probably going to be very, very, very good. Got the first images for it, is Maxxxine. It's going to end Ty West's trilogy. I am super excited, and we got our first images. Oh, damn. This looks really good.
Yeah. Even though that image gives us nothing, it gives us a vibe, and I'm in. That's all I'll say. I'm 100% in.
Where do you see this going, Joe?
I have a feeling now, because of the position that Maxxxine was in at the end of X. Spoilers, skip ahead 2 minutes for anyone that hasn't seen X. I have a feeling now she's going full-on bad bitch who will kill anyone that gets in her way. Like, I'm like, I kind of like compare the Ty West films, at least of this trilogy, to different films like from classic like horror periods in time. So I think X was very much like he was doing a sort of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I felt. Maybe with a bit more like tongue-in-cheekness to it. And I thought Pearl was much more along the lines of like a Carrie or a Rosemary's Baby, where they were much more psychological. So I don't know what he's going to go for now.
Yeah, that's probably why I liked Pearl much more than X.
Yeah, I love both of them equally, to be completely honest. I think Pearl is more interesting. I think X is more fun. Like each of them have their things. They're both fantastic films. Like I can't wait to see what he does next.
I don't know where this is gonna go, Esra. Because obviously they released this image, clearly wanting to make it clear that it's set in Hollywood, right? So
yes.
Where does go? Do you think she's gonna go kind of like the Pearl route, where she wants to become a Hollywood star?
Well, that's the thing. This is meant to be her, like, getting her porn career off the ground. So I think it's going to be that. I think there's going to be, like, competition. I think we're also going to find kind of other people like her, like people who are willing to murder people to get what they want.
Because I was wondering, because you don't want to fall into the, like, because we've already seen in Pearl where we've got a character who was denied the role, and wants to be a star, is denied the role, and then it goes on a rampage. So I'm sure they're not going to repeat the same kind of like plot line.
No. As far as I know, she's already like a fairly established porn actress in this one.
Oh, okay, all right, okay. So let me read this. So it will serve as a continuation to the film will follow the ambitious Maxxxine, the only survivor of the previous film. She sets off on her dream of stardom in Los Angeles in the 1980s. Like the two previous films, Gott will play the lead role. A few glimpses have been given at the upcoming film, including a very VHS-style teaser, which played at the end of Pearl in its theatrical release. Yeah, so not much there. Ooh, nice. We've got Elizabeth Debicki in it. I really like her.
Yes, she's fantastic. The whole cast is fantastic. Elizabeth Debicki, Michelle Monaghan, Bobby Cannavale is fantastic as well. Giancarlo Esposito is actually probably going to have a role. Actually, the great thing, Kevin Bacon's back. I can't remember the last film I saw Kevin Bacon in.
Oh my god. I saw him recently in the Guardians of the Galaxy special. The Christmas special. He was in that. That was very good, actually.
Yeah.
Surprisingly very good. That's when I saw him. Oh, this is a really good cast.
It's a fantastic cast.
Yeah, good to see. You think it can be the best of the bunch?
It'll be tough, but again, I'm not expecting it to be the best of the bunch. I am expecting it to be very good, and I'm very excited.
I am too. Moving on, Joe. I know little to nothing about this book, so you're going to have to speak here. But we got our director for Blood Meridian. The film will be based on the iconic novel of the same name by Cormac McCarthy. 1 second, because my screen is not loading for some reason. Window, share. There we go. There have been no shortage of westerns lately, as a genre seems to have gotten a resurgence in recent years. Now, Deadline reports that New Regency is slated to adapt the Western Blood Meridian into a feature film. Project will be directed by John Hillcoat, based on the iconic book of the same name by Cormac McCarthy. Joe, you've read the book, right?
I've read about half of the book. It was again one I tried to read in my late teens, thinking it would make me sophisticated and cool. It's another one that I have on Audible. I have it there waiting for me to listen to. I was waiting for the right time, because I remember from what I read, it's a very, very heavy book. In its treatment of like some indigenous peoples in the time it's set in its treatment of black people, obviously, in the time it's set in as well. So it can be a bit hard to stomach, but it is one of Cormac McCarthy's most revered books. And I'm glad to see John Hillcoat is someone who, I mean, most people will know him for The Road or for Lawless. I thought Lawless was a really good film. That's the one with Tom Hardy, Shia LaBeouf, and Jessica Chastain.
Oh, it's the Tom Hardy one, yeah.
I really like that film. People aren't crazy about it, but I really like The Road. I liked how slow and uncompromising it was, because I actually have read The Road, and I have read No Country for Old Men by Cormac McCarthy.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a good choice. I don't have much more to go on apart from that, because obviously I haven't finished Blood Meridian. I will say I love a Western, so I'm here for it.
Yeah, I love Westerns too. So,
Interestingly, John Hillcoat, he had done basically using game footage of Red Dead Redemption. He made a short film using only game footage from the game called The Man from Blackwater, and that's really good. That you can go and you can watch it on YouTube. It's quite a cool exercise how like a pretty established director went and used game and cutscene footage to make a narrative. Very cool.
Okay. Oh, The Road was the Viggo Mortensen movie.
Yes, Viggo Mortensen and Cody Smith-McPhee. Yeah.
No, I remember it. Look, Cody Smith-McPhee.
Yeah, he was a proper kid back then.
Oh my God. Jesus. Lala, how young he is. I'm looking at the poster.
Yeah.
And that kid has developed into a bloody good actor. Did you watch Power of the Dog, Joe?
Yes, that was very good. I like the Power of the Dog, and he was particularly great in that film.
I'm so angry that didn't win the best picture that year. I was very upset about that.
Oh, the Oscars.
I saw a lot of people who didn't like it that much. People complained how slow it was, but I adored it, man.
It definitely was slow, and it was very good, and it was nice. It was nice that Jane Campion is back making films.
Yeah. All right. So another Western to look forward to. Talking about Westerns, that's another Western, by the way.
Yeah.
Power of the Dog. Very good Western.
Yeah.
Next up. So this is news that I've been hearing on and off for the past few weeks, to be honest. Got me a little worried because Severance Season 1, I know you loved it, Joe. Severance Season 1 was, I think...
No, I haven't seen Severance Season 1. I've only seen a couple episodes. It's
Wait, you haven't seen Severance Season 1?
No, it's one I need to get around to actually committing to. In fact, I'm coming back to Malta next month for a week, and I'll use that as my Malta show.
All right. Because when Severance came out, I was super excited for it. And I followed it kind of like week by week as it was coming out, and it slowly became like my favorite show for the year.
Yeah.
Honestly, Severance was...
I really like what I've seen so far.
Everything about it was chef's kiss. Writing, production design, performances, everything. Spot on. But we've been hearing some pretty worrying news coming out from Severance, because there have been issues with between the creators, right? So, all told, Erickson, a first-time series creator who wrote the pilot episode, and Friedman, a seasoned writer-producer whose myriad credits include AMC's Dispatches from Elsewhere and Fox's Wayward Pines, ended up hating each other before Season 1 was even in the can, which resulted in a toxic work environment, per the industry newsletter. Friedman reportedly intended to walk away ahead of Season 2, but fellow EP director Ben Stiller, who worked with Friedman on 2014's Night at the Museum, Secrets of the Thune, convinced him to come back after failing to find someone to fill his shoes. Alas, the problems that plagued production Season 1 continue to wreak havoc in Season 2, which is now in production. Puck News cites script issues as well as a ballooning per-episode budget. With Apple already mulling 2 additional seasons, House of Cards creator Bo Willimon has been quietly brought to assist with Season 2 and beyond. Now, there were a couple of updates on that. So we give the full story. Reps for Apple TV Plus declined to comment, but a source close to the show disputes the Puck report telling TV Line that Severance Season 2 is on schedule. The budget is the same as Season 1. Dan, Bo, and Mark are all working together. Bo was hired for Season 3, and since they don't have a traditional writer's room, it made sense he would get involved in the current season as well. Update number 2 was Ben Stiller, addressing the alleged behind-the-scenes drama, I believe on Twitter. And basically saying, everything's fine. We're working on Season 2. So far, I don't know if there is a release date for Season 2.
I haven't seen anything yet. I don't think there is.
There isn't. Now, very soon, we're obviously going to be talking about the Writers Guild of America and the whole kind of like strike that has started, which was just started. Joe, do you think that can play a part in the whole thing? And what are your thoughts on this?
I think it definitely will, because even though things might have been ready to go on Severance, maybe they did like put aside their differences and they did make up and they were about to get to work. It takes a long time to write a television show. It takes a long time to produce one as well. It happens over a number of years, not year. And if production hasn't started at all yet, and now the strike has hit, it's in big trouble. I don't think we're going to see an update on this for the foreseeable future, as we're not going to see an update on a lot of things we're anticipating for the foreseeable as well. The only things we are going to get updates on are things that we know that are done and finished.
House of the Dragon, for example, I believe that's
they did say that's finished. Rings of Power, which I know you care deeply about, is currently filming, so they're fine.
So as I was on the way, like I told you before the episode, Joe, I was listening to like some information about the whole Writers Guild strike and the reasons why and so on. And in my head, I was like, and one of them said that House of the Dragon is done. The writing is done for the show, so they're fine. I was like, I really hope they haven't finished writing season 2 of Rings of Power. And now I found out.
Well, they have. They're filming in Berkshire at the moment, so.
Oh well.
I mean, the thing we are ignoring as well is that rewrites happen.
Yes.
It could happen on the Rings of Power, it could happen on House of the Dragon, where they realize halfway through, shit, this needs to change, and then they go, we don't have any writers.
Shit.
No,
that could be a very big problem, huh? Because what do you do then in that situation?
I mean, unfortunately, I'm myself as a failing screenwriter, because I haven't written anything now in over a year. I am part of a massive Facebook group just called Screenwriters, where there are very big screenwriters in this group who have like worked on, I mean, there's tens of thousands of members, but there are people on it who have worked on very big things, and people who are part of the WGA, and people who aren't part of the WGA. They're not part of the guild. Now, what seems to be happening is now this causes quite a big divide between those two people, because a lot of people who've maybe been writing for a couple of years and they haven't gotten a membership for the WGA, they'll now see this as their chance. They'll see this as, now, because there's no writers from the Writers Guild, I can try and swoop in there and get in touch with a production company and they can give me a shot, basically. But then that turns a lot of the people who write for the WGA against you, because you're the one swooping in and basically, I wouldn't say making fun of the fact that they're striking, but you're making their strike redundant by doing that. Because, I mean, we'll get really into it. Like, there was the article I sent to you guys earlier from Business Insider about one of the writers on The Bear. The Bear, fantastic television show, was nominated for Best Comedy Series at the Emmys. It even won Best Comedy Series. A writer has come forward and he's like, look, like a lot of people will think that being a Hollywood writer is glitz and glamour, but it is absolutely not. This guy was never flown to set. He's never had that kind of creative input. He's just part of a writing team and they meet over Zoom. He lives in a shitty, tiny Brooklyn apartment, which frequently loses power. When his power goes out, he has to go to the public library in order to use power over there. And allegedly, he went to the Emmys. The bow tie he bought on credit, and he went there with a negative bank account because he's not making enough money from his writing job to support the life that he has. Like, it's ridiculous. I think I saw somewhere that since 2018, writers are being paid 23% less than they were, and that's not accounting for inflation as well. Like, it's...
Jesus.
And genuinely, like, without them, we don't have anything, because ideas need to be written. And it's like, again, I call myself a failing screenwriter, because every time I try to sit down to write or I have an idea, it's so difficult to write, and you second guess yourself all the time. And it's like, I've never written something longer than 60 pages as well, which would at a push be a 1 hour film, maybe. I've written numerous short film scripts, some of them really bad, some of them which I think are okay. I wouldn't call any of my work even worthy of being made by like a student at this point in time, to be completely honest. But the strike needed to happen. It does need to happen. It's what guilds and unions are for, to support the workforce. But now us as audiences are going to suffer. There are going to be some people that now see their chance and they swoop in and they get a deal out of it. We're going to see, because some studios will steamroll ahead and they'll employ, for lack of a better term, shit writers to write their stuff for them, and we'll get some really, really badly written things. I mean, I think famously Transformers Dark of the Moon was a film which was made in the previous writers' strike all those years back. And that movie sucks. Like it's one of the worst written movies like ever. But yeah, it's not a pretty situation all over. These are people's livelihoods. They're the backbone of this industry, of this world that we love so much, and they should be respected. They should have their dues paid. Absolutely.
Talking about the Writers Guild strike, so I paid kind of attention to like the big issues, and the way writers' contracts are written is really worrying.
Yeah.
Like so when I was deciding on what kind of career I wanted to have, one of the most important things for me was security, like job security, knowing that once I'm in this job, like as long as I do a good job and I'm working well, I needn't worry about whether I'm going to get paid next month.
Yeah.
Like it's one of the big reasons why I decided to become a teacher, because I love teaching. It's one of the things I know, it's a passion of mine. And I love it. I think education is, every person in the world growing up should get a good education. So that was my number one passion. But number two, thought in my head was, being a teacher and working with government is a very, very secure position for me. I needn't worry that in 3 months' time, I'm going to end up without a job. That is not something that's on my head. But the way the Producers Guild, the way producers on these shows are treating writers, especially with their contracts, is horrific. So giving a writer just weeks to work on a show, and then ending their employment there is not a way you should be living. Ensuring that workers have, like you can see on the sign here, a fair contract where they can go home with a peace of mind, knowing that they needn't worry about how they're going to earn a wage for their family, is not a big deal. Now, I've read that apparently there were some demands for kind of like contracts with regard to the amount of months that writers would be employed, and the minimum amount of writers there should be in any kind of show. And that depends obviously on how big the show is, how long it is, and so on. And I believe the minimum was around 8 writers. So any writer's room would have to have at least 8 writers. And apparently the Producers Guild did not even make a counter offer to those. They were just like, no, we're not talking about these. Which is one of the big main reasons why obviously this devolved then into a strike. Because if the other side are not even at least offering, like making a counter offer, like there's no dialogue going on. There's no solution to it, right? So the strike is the only solution to this. And like you said, Joe, the strike is going to, obviously it's very selfish to think about this, but it's true. There's going to be a lack of quality shows coming out.
But then it's also the people that work on these productions as well. It's going to hold work for everyone, unless they find other writers kind of basically off the street to continue work for them. But who the hell wants to do that?
And I was listening to a member of SAG who said they too are currently in discussions. Seeing how the Writers Guild how those discussions went. I don't know. This is an issue that I think right now we live in a world where life is becoming increasingly more expensive. Anything you do, whether it's just something as simple as going to buy groceries, whether it's paying for electricity, whether it's anything at all, it's just always it's become so difficult just to get by. It's become very difficult to just get by. And myself as a teacher, like I said, I have job security, but obviously, as is quite well known, as teachers, we don't get the best of pays.
Yeah.
We get by. We just get by. And I'll be honest, I wish I needn't worry about kind of like, the amount, because I don't expect to be like recently I've been spending a lot of money because I've been traveling a lot. Obviously now I have to keep that in mind in the coming months, because now I can barely spend any money because I need to save up.
Yeah.
And that's me with a very secure job. Now, let alone these writers.
Yeah.
Who, again, they get employed for a few weeks. And like you said, with the example of the writer on The Bear, like he ended up on credit, writing in a bloody library because he didn't have money to pay for electricity.
Yeah.
Like, no person should ever end up in that situation.
Yeah.
Let alone someone who is working on a world-class show.
Yeah, he's working on an award-winning television show, which the common perception would be like, oh, everyone who works on this show must be doing really well. Not the case.
I really don't get it. I really don't get it. But it's going to be interesting to see how this develops.
Yeah.
This is interesting. So last Writers Guild strike was in 2007. And apparently that strike caused an estimated $2 billion in economic damage.
Yeah.
In Southern California, adjusted for inflation, that comes to nearly $3 billion today. And a lot of shows were impacted by that. 2007. And you feel the impacts a year, 2 years after.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be rough.
We're got some of the daily shows who are closing.
Yeah.
So, it's going to be interesting to see how it develops. And did you read about this, Joe? So the Writers Guild put out a summary of the two sides' bargaining positions, in which it says the union's proposals would gain writers as a group about $429 million per year, and the AMPTP's offer is about $86 million per year. I mean, it's clearly there's no middle ground here between both sides. No middle ground at all. So it's going to be interesting to see how this develops. I have a feeling this is going to last quite a long time, seeing how like both sides, at what position both sides are right now, and like there seems to be, at least from what I've read and from what I've heard from, I was listening to some members of the Writers Guild as well talking, and it was like they seemed quite of the opinion that there was no solution in sight. Like this is going to last months. This is going to last very, very, very long time. So we'll see how this develops. And but props to them for striking. Everyone deserves a fair living, working conditions. Everyone deserves to not have to be scared about where they're going to be working and what they're going to be doing in a month's time. I think everyone should have a livable wage, a comfortable wage, where you can live comfortably with your family. Because after all, here we're talking about people who are working super hard on providing us entertainment. And if you're paying stars millions, I think the people who give them those lines should also be paid a decent amount of money.
Absolutely.
Anything else, Joe, to say about this?
No, not really. I hope it resolves soon, but I hope that everyone gets what they are due.
Exactly. Okie dokies. So that's all the news, guys. Let us know in the comment section below any of the news we might have missed out on. What are your thoughts about all these things? We had some very positive news. We had news, for example, on Evil Dead Rise doing really well. Looking forward to a sequel to that. The Gladiator news and other stuff. And let us know also what you think about the Writers Guild strike. Do you agree with their demands? I definitely do. So that's the news. Now we've got 3 reviews to talk about. We can start off, Joe, with Peter Pan and Wendy. We both watched this. Just a second, let me bring that up onto the screen. So, Peter Pan and Wendy, directed by David Lowery, director of one of my personal favorite movies of the last few years, in The Green Knight. I thought The Green Knight was
fantastic.
Fantastic. You could see some elements of The Green Knight in this.
Absolutely.
And that was interesting. Joe, your thoughts?
I'll start off by saying that 4.2 out of 10 on IMDb is ridiculously harsh. That is beyond harsh for this film.
Oh my God. What?
The main thing I came out of this film saying is that it's not bad, but it's also not very good at the same time. Like, it's just fine. It's probably like my definition of like a 5 out of 10, like at a push, a 5.5. But the only thing I kept thinking at the end of it all was, what a damn shame. With this all.
The audience score.
I don't know why. To be fair, I'm not going to claim that this is the sole reason, but I have seen the Andrew Tate Brigade complaining that the casting that they did for the boy who plays Peter is a woke inclusion casting, and he's not a good actor. One of my big complaints of the film is he is not a good actor.
Rotthouse needs to take care of their reviews, because there was a...
Yes, I know. There's some profanity on there. But yeah, my main thing I came away thinking from this, like,
fear.
what a shame, because it's beautiful and it's definitely imaginative.
Mm-hmm.
It is unfortunately pretty much beat for beat a carbon copy of the animated film. It is almost scene for scene. But if you focus on the direction and the imagination displayed in the visuals, it's such a damn shame that David Lowery had to do this for a big studio like Disney, who are obviously not going to let him do a major spin on this character. Because if someone just had like the rights to this like fairy tale story, and you get David Lowery behind it, and he obviously wanted to do something a bit darker, because that's what the visuals are calling for, and much more grounded and realistic, you could have had something really special. You could have had like lightning in a bottle kind of things. Like, even I would even say you needed to do it rated R, but if you did it like rated 15, where it was a bit more darker, a bit more mature, a bit more just a bit harsher with certain things, you know? Less silly, like less obviously aimed at kids, and even like the themes you can put into it, like about growing up and stuff like that. You could have had something really special. But yeah, it's, again, I do not agree with 16% of the critics' tomato meter of 66%. That's kind of where I'm sitting. Of like, look, it's definitely not offensive in any kind of way. It's not trying. It doesn't do anything new with the story or with the structure or with the themes of this story. But its visuals are breathtaking at times, and you can see that there's a director behind it. That there's intention behind certain things, and I'm sure you will mention Jude Law is a highlight in the film.
Yes.
Absolutely.
He's having a very good time with this role. You could tell. But also, his character is not as over the top.
No,
as we've seen him portrayed recently.
Yeah.
Still, however, a very powerful presence in the movie. Very, very powerful presence, and a very, for everything that was going on around him, quite a mature performance still.
Yes.
That was one of the elements that surprised me, although I shouldn't have been surprised, to be honest, because it's Jude Law. But I feel like the recent Captain Hooks I've seen have been quite goofy, kind of, in their way. And his was quite a mature, serious, like I could tell that they were trying to create a more grey character.
Yeah.
with Captain Hook in this movie, and I've seen some people have issues with that, because it's true that Disney recently have been going through the route of every villain has to be grey, and you cannot have a completely villainous character, which I don't mind. I like having grey characters. I'd rather have a grey antagonist than a completely evil, although completely evil sometimes is fun when done correctly. But I do rather prefer my characters to be more grey rather than like pure evil or pure good.
Yeah.
Continue, Joe, because I interrupted you.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's kind of like my final statement on it. I long to think of what Lowry could have done if he was given the freedom like he had with something like the Green Knight, because that's also a tale as old as time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a shame that, like, one thing I will criticize heavily, they definitely could have found someone better than Alexander Maloney to play Peter Pan. Like, he is unfortunately just not good. I thought Eva Anderson, who, if you do not know, fun fact, is the daughter of actress Mila Jovovich and director Paul W.S. Anderson. I thought she was pretty good.
Yes.
I thought she was pretty good. Yeah. Jude Law obviously very good, but yeah, the whole thing is, it's just a shame, and I feel like Disney have tried to bury this film. Like it's had no promotion. It's gone straight to Disney Plus. It wasn't even on my Disney Plus homepage. Like I had to actually open the search function and search for this film when it was only 2 days old when I watched it. You know, it's bizarre. It's bizarre. For some reason, they released this clearly unfinished trailer because the special effects in the trailer looked horrendous, whereas in the film they look fantastic.
We need to talk about that as well. Do you remember discussing this movie?
I do.
Going through the trailer, and I went on like a massive rant.
Yeah.
And then obviously we had the big issue of this is not coming out in cinemas, it's coming out on streaming. So obviously we were like, oh, this is probably going to be bad. But it's David Lowery, so can it be that bad if it's David Lowery? Like,
yeah.
Turns out it was okay. Like, I think this would have been completely inoffensive if it came out in the cinemas. I think, and they advertised it properly.
Yeah.
Could have made a decent amount of money because Peter Pan is a crowd puller.
Oh yeah, you take your kids to see it. Like, I know for a fact if I put this on for like my niece, she'll be entranced by it because the visuals are incredible, and she knows the story of Peter Pan, so she'll want to see it again. So I don't know.
What would be the reason why they're trying to hide it? Like, why?
I really don't understand. I couldn't tell you. They're a strange company.
Because if you've got like a massive talent like David Lowery, like, promote it.
So he's someone as well who in the past he did a live action adaptation for them, which unfortunately didn't make very much money. It was a weird adaptation to do, which was Pete's Dragon, because no one knows who Pete's Dragon is. But that's actually a really good film. I think Pete's Dragon is one of the best of the live action adaptations that they've done. But just no one went to watch it. So I don't know, but like openly speculating, maybe they had some like troubles behind the scenes with Lowery and they had like a falling out, so therefore they're not like promoting it. But I don't know.
Weird. The recent releases have been very weird, Disney Astra.
Yeah.
Recently. Like, they released that horrific Tom Hanks movie. What was it?
They did the Pinocchio one. Yeah.
Pinocchio movie, which my girlfriend watched. I couldn't watch it. Apparently that was pretty bad.
Yeah, I didn't watch it, but apparently it's horrendous.
Like, I don't get what's going on at times with Disney Plus and what Disney are, with the direction they're taking their own movies. Like, forget Star Wars and forget Marvel. Those are their own big issues.
Yeah.
But just the Disney studio movies they're releasing are very, very weird.
Yeah.
Very weird. I don't get where
they're all clearly expensive as well.
Do you think this was very expensive?
I have to imagine, because there's definitely a combination of like actual real life locations and a shitload of CGI in it.
Yeah.
So it couldn't have been cheap. Like, some of the locations are incredible, like the cliffside stuff they have.
The locations are breathtaking.
Yeah, so
And times I turned to my girlfriend. I was like, "Wow, this is the whenever they're in, like, you can tell they're in the real life location.
yeah,
The cinematography
it's
is
fantastic.
stunning.
Yeah,
It's really good stuff."
yeah. It felt like
But-
at times I was watching like lost B-roll of the Green Knight. To be completely honest.
True. But like you said, I had my biggest issue. I think my biggest issue was the main protagonist.
Yeah.
The performance.
It's
Alexander Maloney is just such a bland
wooden.
performance.
Just unfortunately, just not a very good actor.
It gives you nothing.
Yeah.
Wendy was fine.
Yeah.
Wendy was fine. I thought Tiger Lily was fine.
Yeah.
The side characters, Smee was okay.
That was Jim Gaffigan, yes, me.
Majority were fine, and obviously we had the standout of Jude Law, who is great in this. Really, really good and very entertaining performance. What do you think about Tinkerbell, Joe?
Not all that much, to be honest. I've never thought the character of Tinkerbell is like that big a deal. Anyway, that was actually one of the few times where I was like, the CGI isn't totally working out with this one.
Yeah. But the flying was fine.
Yes, no, the flying was
Well,
absolutely
actually,
fine. Yeah,
I was really worried about the flying because I always mention this. Flying is always a big issue with in movies like House of the Dragon.
yes.
If I got one issue with House of the Dragon, it's the flying, and that everyone feels like they're floating.
I've got an issue with the dragons. But anyway.
But the flying, this was actually surprisingly quite good.
Yeah.
Like even when
Yeah.
they're flying over London, that was actually a really pretty scene.
Yeah.
But I remember really hating that scene in the trailer, so something happened in between.
Yes, no, they definitely polished it.
They really polished it.
I thought the trailer as well looked interesting, just from like what they were going for visually. But I could also admit it didn't look very finished. At the same
I think
time.
I focused a lot on the negatives when we talked about the trailer, and I ignored all the real life location. I tend to fall into that like negative spiral whenever I see something that triggers me. With regard to the audience score, because the audience score, I'm going through it now, not on screen, because Jesus,
Yeah.
some of these reviews, the N-word, I think the N-word mentioned too many times. Like the biggest issues that I've seen with people are, I hate to say it, but the casting of persons of color in this.
Okay, so it's the Andrew Tate brigade. Like, this is what we're saying.
And many people are saying it's ruining their childhood, but like, it doesn't true. Come on.
Oh, grow up. Come on, grow up. If having a person of color put into a character that you grew up with who was white, if that ruins your childhood, you need to grow up. Like, this is the end of story. Just get over it.
And many of them are calling it boring. I don't know.
Then apparently the original animated film is boring because this is pretty much the animated film. Yeah,
with the shadow, everything.
Yeah.
Like there were straight scenes directly taken from the animated in this movie, like exactly the same. I was picturing the animated movie right next to it, like on screen when I was watching, and I was like, some of the scenes were the same. I don't mind when they do that, I'm going to be honest. I'd rather they do that than give us something like Dumbo.
I didn't watch Dumbo, so I can't comment.
But yeah, adding
I don't know. I feel like we don't need any of these live action adaptations.
No, we don't.
But
I'd rather have something from someone like David Lowery if we're going to get something like this. At least you get
I would rather have something from David Lowery when he's got the freedom to go full David Lowery.
100%. But he has to also pay off his bills, so.
Yes, that's true. That's also true.
All right. So as a rating, Joe, how much would you give it?
For me, it's going to sit right in the middle at 2.5 out of 5.
2.5? Okay. I think I'll give it a bit more. I think I'll go for a 3. 3 out of 5.
Okay.
3 out. Because I really did quite like it, to be honest.
If you really liked it, then you really liked it. I mean, so it's up to you.
I'll go for a 3.5. No, 3.5. I think 7 out of 10, 3.5 out of 5. I really, really liked it. And I was surprisingly felt quite emotional in some moments of the movie.
Fair enough.
So, yeah, I liked it. 3.5 out of 5. Not to be a contrarian, but if I like it, I like it.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
So that's Peter Pan and Wendy. Next up, Joe. I'm really looking forward to watching this. I'm going to try and watch it sometime this weekend because it's out on digital. But did you watch this in the cinema, Joe?
I did watch it in the cinema.
Ooh, nice. Obviously, it's not out here in Malta.
No.
Surprise. But Joe, you got to watch How to Blow Up a Pipeline. What was it about?
I did. Well, I mean, this is a case of you don't need to read anything about the film. The only thing you need to know is the title. It is literally How to Blow Up an Oil Pipeline. There is a little bit more to it. Where it says, where the description on screen we have here is a crew of environmental activists plot a daring plan to disrupt an oil pipeline. The reason they do that is because they all have somewhat different connections to oil pipelines. Like some of them have like illnesses related to it, or they know someone who got ill because of living next to an oil pipeline, or there's one character played by Forrest. I can't remember his surname, but he was also in The Revenant as well. He's a Native American. Forrest Goodluck, yes, that's him. He obviously lived on a reservation in North Dakota where a pipeline goes through like his ancestors' land and stuff like that. Anyway, they've all got different reasons to be angry at the pipelines in the United States, and they come together in order to blow it up, basically. I'll be very brief on this because it is a tough film to spoil, but I will not want to spoil it because I will say outright, this is one of my favorite films of the year so far.
Ooh,
this is, and I don't love when a film has a clear agenda, and obviously this film has a clear agenda because of the subject matter that it is taking on. But being frank, it's an agenda we should all probably have, that we should take care of our well-being and we should take care of the planet. But it goes about having its agenda without being preachy or trying to make the audience feel like they should be on the side of these characters. It's no, all these characters have this connection that they all share towards oil pipelines, and they all have a joint cause, and you are just watching them go through it. And when agendas are this entertaining and this well made, I get fully behind them. This, like, when I say not a dull moment in this film, I absolutely mean it. Even like the way that it is structured, you're in from the first second of like what's going on and these people meeting up, and even the way like you learn about their backstories. It's told in a kind of very disjointed way where you get snippets of backstories throughout the film, and then it all comes together. And it's I believe it's the debut of the director, Daniel Goldhaber.
Okay.
And it's fantastic. It looks incredible as well. It's entertaining as fuck. Like, I can't tell you, like, it's weird that a movie about this is fun in a way, but it's so, that scene you're seeing there where they're trying to like tie the barrel to that pipe, it's so stressful but so entertaining. Like, again, if you can see this in a cinema, it's good. I was in like a tiny room at the Glasgow Film Theatre, in one of the smallest theatres that they had, and like there were moments in this film where you could feel everyone in the room was holding their breath. Kind of stuff like that. It is. I
love those moments in the cinema.
It's really good. The performances across the board are fantastic as well, and it's perfect. Like the cast members they get. There's actually one I want to point out, which is Lucas Gage, which he's someone I first saw him in Euphoria, and then he has a small role in The White Lotus season 1, and he's really good at playing like these pretty boy shit heels in it. And again, in this, he plays a pretty boy shit heel, and he's so good at it. Like, he's so good at it. So I was happy to see him. Even like Christine Froseth, who's someone I'd seen in the Gareth Evans film. What was it? The horror one. But anyway, she's also very good in this as well. Everyone is. There's Sasha Lane, who I haven't seen in the film for a while, but is also really good. Again, for me, it's one of the best films of the year. Extremely entertaining. Has a message that you can that we should probably get behind. Not that like I'm telling you to go and blow up oil pipelines, because I'm not. The sole message behind the film is you should take care of your health and we should take care of our planet. We should, you know. But no, I really enjoyed it. It's really good, and I hope more people see it. And I also can't wait to see what Daniel Goldhaber does next.
Nice. I'm looking forward to watching it.
It's really good. Really good.
Sure, might fit it in tomorrow, maybe. Since it's out on digital, I can watch it conveniently at home. Obviously, it's not going to come out in cinemas and Mota, I can assure you.
No, I wouldn't imagine so.
Okay, so rating, Joe.
For me, it is a solid 4 to 4.5 out of 5. It's really good. I struggle to find anything truly wrong with the film, to be completely honest.
Nice. Okie dokies, so that's how to blow up a pipeline. And to conclude, I've chosen Steam on purpose to bring up on screen Star Wars Jedi Survivor. So I'm finishing off the first game, Joe. So far, I'm having a really good time. I think the storytelling in it is fantastic.
Is this the first time you've played the first game?
I always stopped playing it. I tried like 3 times to play it, and I always stopped.
But did you play it on release?
No.
Okay, interesting.
No. Yeah, yes. I started playing it on release. Sorry. I'm forgetting. I started playing it on release. Then I stopped because I found the opening, like, the opening is brilliant.
Yeah.
I love the opening. But then after that big high, then you're like, there's quite a big quite a low.
Yes, there is. Yes.
And I always kind of used to get bored, and the mechanics just felt so janky, and the running felt weird, the jumping felt weird, the parries didn't feel like, I'm used to Dark Souls. I play like Souls. I've been playing Dark Souls for hundreds and hundreds of hours, and that just feels so responsive. Whilst here, the parries and the blocks just did not feel right. There was something off. But I finally decided to play it and like put in a lot of like focus on it and say, okay, I'm going to play it. I'm not going to get distracted and stop playing it. And I've been having a good time. I'm glad I'm playing it with all its big issues. What do you think about the first one, Joe, before we get into Jedi Survivor?
I really like the first one. I like it mainly because it was like for Star Wars being such a fucking up and down thing throughout my entire life, but still being a pretty die-hard Star Wars fan, it was really good for one of the first times, especially in games, to have something which, one, everyone seemed to agree on was good, and it really got the vibe of Star Wars from a story perspective.
Yes.
And it told its own story as well, with certain allusions to big events in the story, but without totally like nostalgia baiting you with like big character reveals and stuff like that, which is always good. It's a very imperfect game. On launch, it was a bit of a fucking mess as well, performance-wise. But overall, I really liked the first one, and I was very excited for the sequel, just because like I really like Respawn as a developer. They made one of probably my favorite shooter of all time, which is Titanfall 2.
Titanfall is so good.
I'm pining for them to make a Titanfall 3, but I don't think they ever will. I don't think they will, because EA killed Titanfall and Titanfall 2. But anyway, so I was very excited for them to make another game, and I knew they would make improvements. And I obviously haven't finished the game. I've been playing it since it released, which is now coming up to, it'll be a week on Friday. But I will say I've played close to 14 hours of the game. I believe I'm probably about 35 to 40% of the way through of the main story, because I'm also taking my time exploring and doing stuff like that. I'm going to start with the good first, because I think that's a good place to start. From the off, this is Respawn taking everything that they did well in the first game and doubling and tripling down on it. So you mentioned you had some qualms with the combat. The combat is much better here. The parry still isn't perfect, but it's now you can get behind it of, oh, this is the parry system that they want in this game. It's not like a Sekiro where it's lightning quick. It's slightly mushier, but it's much easier to get behind in this game and feels more natural now because it's more refined. The movement feels fantastic in this one, not just the platforming, but even just the running. They've completely changed how Cal runs in this one, so they've improved on that as well. Graphically,
thank God.
Graphically, and I'm playing it in performance mode on the PS5, which means I'm favoring frame rate over graphical fidelity, still looks fantastic. They've fixed the terrible map from the first game, and now the map
not that map.
the map was terrible.
I got lost. I got lost like a couple of times.
Yeah.
Going back to the ship. Every time I have to go back to the ship, I'm like, return to the Mantis. And I'm like, oh my God, where the fuck do I have to go? There's no way I could ever understand with that map.
And they've done
15 minutes just walking around before I got like so frustrated. I looked up on YouTube.
They've done another thing now. Everyone knows they've added fast travel. So if you've gone to a meditation point and you find another one, you can fast travel from between meditation points. They've changed, and what they have changed as well is, it's not a spoiler, but you obviously go to different planets in these games, right? But what they've done now, which is much better, is you kind of have... It kind of annoyed me towards the end of the first game, and that's because I'm a bit of a completionist with these, and I do all the side stuff before doing the main stuff, is I was going from planet to planet way too much, trying to do all the completionist stuff and getting all the collectibles and stuff like that. So now...
How many hours did it take you, Joe?
The first game? I would say around 15 hours. It's not very long, the first game
hours?
at all. Yes.
Oh, wow, I'm like on 25 hours right now.
No, it's not very long, the first game at all. If you play it on like the hardest difficulty, which I tend to do, because I've done multiple playthroughs of the first game, on the hardest difficulty I did take considerably longer because I died a lot more often. But now you've got basically, there's one main hub world planet, which is huge. I've only seen like 35% of this planet so far, and I'm already about 14 hours into the game. But then, obviously, there are other planets that you go to as well to explore those, and those won't be as big as this main hub world planet. They're probably about as big as the planets we saw in the first game, so they're still pretty substantial as well. So that means there's a bit less planet hopping in that respect, because there's so much stuff to do on like the sort of hub world planet. You spend a lot of your time there. And then you go to these other planets for like quicker jobs. So yes, on the good, combat feels better than the last game. Traversal feels better than the last game. Just running feels better than the last game. They've added fast travel. They've added mounts as well in certain sections of the game. The best thing I can say about it so far is the story and what they're doing with it. Even less so than the first one, they are not depending on characters that you know from whatever movies or series that you have seen. They are doing their own fucking thing here, and I'm here for every second of it. Cal Kestis becomes even more likable with every cutscene that goes on, and I already thought he was a very likable protagonist in the first game. But he's cementing himself now with this game as one of the best Jedi characters we've seen in all of Star Wars. Because he's got those like slightly grey aspects to him where he doesn't totally get the Jedi Order maybe, and he's got his own kind of thing, but he knows he needs to fight the Empire. It's really, really good, the direction they're going with the story, and that's the main hook that's keeping me in here so far.
Joe, do you remember one of the biggest controversies when the game came out? I remember this particular review. And one of the main comments, which was highlighted on Twitter, and I remember reading all the Twitter comments, just bloody hilarious, was that Cal is another boring white protagonist in Star Wars.
Yeah.
And like the reactions to that was, this is for the first game, by the way.
Yeah. I think...
And I remember the reactions being hilarious to that.
Yeah, the first game, maybe he starts off a little bit boring, but by the end of it, I totally bought in. But in this one now, even more so. He's a fantastic character to have in the game. But that's the good. I'm really enjoying it. I'm playing whenever I get the chance. I also forgot to mention the expansion on different fighting styles there are in this game.
Okay.
But I won't spoil those people that don't know. Really fun, every single one of them that I've come across so far.
That's something I wanted to say was a bit disappointing about the first one. I thought if they're going to make like a Dark Souls-like game, they would focus a lot more on like whether you take a defensive stance or an offensive stance. Because obviously, I don't know if you've watched the animated series, the Star Wars series.
Yeah.
Those focus a bit more on like the different styles and seeing like Obi-Wan with his defensive style.
Yeah, you see, you get a bit of that here. Maybe not exactly like that, but
like Sekiro, like in Sekiro, where you can take the defensive stance
Over here, you basically you get variations. I mean, you'll see from the trailer, but there are variations on your lightsaber. So you've obviously got the single lightsaber, you've got double bladed, you've got dual wield lightsabers. You've even got a combination of using a lightsaber and a blaster in one hand as well.
Okay.
And then you've even got, what I do like what they've really done is, we all saw it in the trailer, so it's not a spoiler. They have this sort of Kylo Ren style lightsaber with the two prongs coming out of the side. But what they've done with that is, it's not just a lightsaber with two prongs coming out of the side. It's like a big medieval claymore. It's like it's like a much heavier, slower style of attacking with a lightsaber. And you think that's not as fun, but it's really cool. Like it's high risk, high reward because you deal a shitload more damage with it.
I love claymores on Dark Souls, so
yeah,
I'm all it.
but that's exactly it. So if you wanted to fight in a sort of heavier weapon fighting style, you technically
my
can.
favorite is just taking a big bloody sword and boom,
but then
slamming
if you wanted to be really fast and kind of dominate your opponent with as many hits as possible, you go for the dual wield because that's definitely the fastest one that there is. If you want to take on a large group of, like in a crowd, you definitely go for the double bladed lightsaber. If you want to hit someone from far away, you go for the blaster. And if you want to have a kind of like jack of all trades, master of none, is the regular lightsaber. So there is variety, which
more variety. Yeah,
there's a lot of good things about the game. And as I said, so far I'm won over and I really like it. The bad, which you'll be able to come into with our finishing discussion, is now I had the privilege of having this on PS5, which has the least of the issues that we've seen online. Now, it took a while for some of the bigger issues to come into the game for me. So when I first booted up the game, everything was fine, but playing it in performance mode, which does favor frames over graphical fidelity, in cutscenes, and then in much bigger sort of semi-open world scenarios in the game, I was getting pretty substantial frame drops. And when I say that, like pretty noticeable under 20 frames per second, like stuttering. Like never for like the amount of time where it became a problem, like for a couple of seconds here and there. And it never, to be fair to it, it never happened in combat, which is always great, but still not good. Like I've paid £70 for this game to play it on my £500 console with my £400 4K television, you know? And that's not even being the worst off, because I know that there are people who have £4,000 PCs that can't run this game at all.
Yeah.
But then things did get a bit worrying. I remember like the third day I was playing it, I turned on my PS5 and I boosted up the game, got to the main menu, and I pressed like continue game to load my game, and the game crashes. That's never happened for me on a PS5, ever. Never happened.
On a PlayStation are worrying,
yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I kind of think to myself, look, like I've seen the news about this. I'll report the crash and it shouldn't happen again. Next 2 times I try it, crashes both times. And then I'm like, shit, this is 3 times in a row that it's crashed. I said, let me go on to Reddit or on the internet and let me see what can fix this. And apparently EA had said, if you start your PlayStation in safe mode and you rebuild your database, which is basically all that does, it's like rebooting your phone, you know, which you should do every once in a while. It just cleanses your caches, it doesn't delete anything, and it's safe to do. And they're like, that should let you play the game normally. So anyway, I do it, boot in safe mode, reboot the game and everything, crashes again, even after doing the thing which EA told me to do. Luckily, I got lucky.
Oh my god.
On the 6th time I tried it, the game decided to start and everything was fine. That was the only time I experienced crashes, on that one time. Now, yesterday, Respawn did put out a pretty substantial patch. And I have to say, since then, when I played earlier today, my performance, at least, has been drastically improved. I've only noticed 1 frame drop when entering a more open world area. And again, for like a split second. Nothing in the cutscenes, nothing in combat, and overall it's a lot smoother, and again, hasn't crashed so far. But as we'll get into it now, that has not been the case for people on PCs.
Talking about the latest update, I was just going through some reviews on Steam. I've been seeing quite a few people saying that with the recent update, the situation is actually worse, which is a bit of a worry.
Yeah, so we'll get in, with this. We'll get into our final discussion about PC ports being broken.
Because, like I said, the reason why I selected the Steam page for this is because the reactions and the reviews are quite entertaining. So the first one, the top review, is this one. One with the crash, and the crash is with me.
Yeah.
But the latest update has made it unplayable now, and that seems to be the reactions by many. I mean, if you've got an RTX 4090
and an i9 processor, that's ridiculous.
That you can go to space with that. Like, you can literally boot up your PC and power off to space with it.
Yeah.
With such a powerful PC. And it's just like the reactions. Would love to play the game if it didn't crash every 3 minutes. And the reactions by many is that this looks like a really good game.
Yeah.
If only I could play it.
Yeah.
Like, the issue is not gameplay, but optimization and greed.
Yeah.
This is another one I was reading before. Played my first 9 hours with 0 issues. I was apparently one of the lucky few. A 4 GB update went out yesterday or the day before, and now the game's unplayable, rarely above 10 frames per second. Now it's cruising along at 100 plus average, 65 low before the update. Regularly get crashes saying my memory card isn't able to run the game, when before the update there were 0 issues. So yeah, because I'm a PC gamer, I play games on my PC. The last console I had was a PlayStation 4, and when I started working, my first purchase was in fact a PC. A very good PC. Obviously, in the past 8 years, I've updated it. Now I've got a 30 series card, but I still get big issues playing games on PC. I still get very big issues. Recently, I talked about my issues with Hogwarts Legacy. Great game, very fun game, lots of lag spikes.
Yeah.
Elden Ring is a game that I think another game where I had big issues with it, with the performance on PC. Yes.
That's funny. I played
lag spikes. Oh my god.
Really? Yeah, because I played Elden Ring. Now I recently upgraded my card about 2 months ago. I went from a 1660 to a 2080 because I'm not a huge. I do like playing games on my PC. I'm not a huge PC gamer, so I tend to go for cheaper cards. But I played all of Elden Ring on my 1660, and that's a single fan 1660 Storm. I had 0 issues. I ran the game stable at I think like 90 to 100 frames per second, and I never had any major issues.
Ustra. Okay. No, I had big issues on launch. Oof. It was bad. It was really bad. Like the amount of lag I was getting. Where when you fight the Sentinel, the tree Sentinel at the start, like that was unplayable for me. That was absolutely unplayable for me. I couldn't fight it. Like every few seconds, you were like,
it's weird. And usually
by that time you're dead.
You wouldn't expect that from Software because they're not like they're not like an EA, are they?
You remember the original Dark Souls on PC?
No, I never played it on PC.
That is one of the all-time worst PC ports.
My main experience of From Software, the game that got me into their games was Sekiro. And I played that on PS4.
Sekiro was perfect on PC, mind you. Sekiro was very good on PC. I had 0 issues with Sekiro. I had 0 issues with Dark Souls 3. I had 0 issues with Dark Souls 2. Elden Ring was unplayable at times for me. It was unplayable at times. I think it's really ruined the game quite a bit for me. So yeah, this is a big issue with PC gaming, right? Now I know that a lot of developers have come out and said that, listen, it's very hard to develop games for PCs. You have numerous graphics cards, numerous processors you have to develop for. I mean, it's like, what's the solution to this? Now we got Redfall, another big problem with Redfall, because apparently, apart from the game being very bad, apparently it's also the state it came out is nigh unplayable at times. I was watching, like I told you before, I was watching Angry Joe playing it, and watching it was it was hilarious for me, because I'm not the one playing it, and I can get it on Xbox Game Pass for PC. But apparently the performance is dreadful, crashes every few minutes. It's been a big issue with many games on PC. At this point, I as you know, I love playing Call of Duty, and Call of Duty on PC is another game when compared to playing it on PlayStation, because of all the frames you can get on PC. On Call of Duty, I can get 200 plus frames. If I'm going to play Counter-Strike, again, I can only play Counter-Strike on PC. So I will keep on playing on PCs because, you know, the games I love the most come out on PC.
Yeah.
I love strategy games, and there's only one way to play strategy games. That's on PC. You're never going to play
Agreed.
a proper strategy game on a PlayStation. So I'm going to but for anyone who just wants to play games, I would never recommend buying a PC.
No.
To just play a game like Jedi Survivor.
Yeah.
Or to play a game
they're not for the casual gamer, they're for the enthusiast.
No.
And for people that like shooters especially.
Exactly. Although then there's also the big issue. I don't want to get into this because it's a 2-hour discussion. The big issue of aim assist.
Yes.
Versus mouse, because playing a lot of COD. I've been playing COD since I was a kid, and I've always played it on PC. Since I think I would say since Black Ops 2, 3, I'd say since Black Ops 3, I think the issue of aim assist has been another very big issue, where you sometimes feel like you're fighting against a robot, not against a person.
Yeah.
But that's a whole other discussion.
Yes.
But yes, PC ports have been... Oh my God, Redfall has a 1.7 user score on PC.
Jesus Christ.
1.7. Because Jedi Survivor is actually a good game if it worked.
Yes.
But Redfall is, apart from having horrific performance issues, is also a bad game. So
yes, unfortunately.
You've got that issue as well. Yeah. There are big issues with PC ports. I don't know. Next up, we're gonna have Starfield coming out. Is that this year, Joe?
Apparently.
No,
I'll believe it when I'm holding the physical copy in my hands. To be honest,
that's gonna be wow.
Actually, I'm actually not going to have a physical copy because it's not coming out for PlayStation, which is just stupid.
Oh, that's just Xbox and PC, right?
Xbox and PC.
Because of the deal.
I don't know if it's a timed exclusive or it's totally exclusive. If it's timed, I'll just wait. I'll just be like, look, I don't need it right now.
Actually, it's actually very good for me because I can get it on Xbox Game Pass for PC. It's going to be
if it comes to Game Pass. Because not all of them go straight to Game Pass, do they?
No. Redfall did, so that's why I'm going to play it. So I can review it next week. If it's as bad as they're saying, I'll have to stop though, and just I can't deal with. Like I can watch horrific TV series, but playing, that's a whole other level of frustration. But yeah, PC ports bad.
Yeah, PC ports bad. They've been ridiculous at the moment.
Something, but I don't know. There's always been big issues.
I feel like just games in general, a little bit. The only kind of like great experiences I've had in the last couple of years with games like straight out of the box. I mean, this is not being biased towards PlayStation. Just the PlayStation is the thing I tend to play on the most. Are games from first-party developers, which is to say, when I first played Horizon Zero Dawn, nothing was wrong with that on the PS4 when it first released. The same with Uncharted 4 when I played that a couple of years ago. The same with God of War. The same with God of War Ragnarok. I didn't encounter a single glitch in God of War Ragnarok, and that's a huge game. In The Last of Us Part 2, nothing I can think about, and I played that on my old ass PS4, which sounds like a fucking jet engine.
Mela.
First, but I guess the thing you need to take into account with that is those developers are only developing for one console. They're not even developing for Xbox. 100%. They're developing just for the PlayStation.
Plus, they're working hand in hand.
Yes, with Sony the whole time.
They're working hand in hand with Sony. So yeah. It would be a big surprise if something like The Last of Us had issues on PlayStation. Yeah. Let's put it that way.
But it's weird because I've had a couple of PS. I mean, I had Hogwarts Legacy on PS5. Apart from me not finding it a very good game and checking out after forcing myself through about 10 hours of it, the performance wasn't good for what I expect of a PS5 game, especially in the open world segments of it. You know?
But what's causing these issues? Like, is it just like greedy developers? Because usually we always fall in the greedy developers.
For me, the developers are never greedy. And the people who are greedy are the execs and the people at the top of these companies who are dealing with the shareholders who are definitely greedy. Yeah. Because we live in a world now where games are so sophisticated, it takes a lot more time to make these games. But shareholders need to make a buck, and these companies need to make money. So if they go like, look, realistically, this game is going to take 3 years to make and finish, they go do it in 2.
Well, yeah.
You know?
Without giving them the manpower, probably.
And that as well, because they're like crunch culture is a big thing of the gaming industry, and the developers, the people on the ground working on the game, are not the ones to blame here. They never are. Those are people doing their It's the exact same in films, right? The writers are not to blame. The directors are not to blame. The fucking
sometimes they are. Sometimes,
sometimes yes. If you're Michael Bay, yes, you can be to blame. I don't care. Usually, it is not the fault of these kinds of people. You're not going to blame an actor for a film being a fucking cash grab, are you? No, because he's there to play a role, and he's there to do his job and to make his own fucking money at the end of the day. The people to blame are the producers and the big wigs behind these companies, and of course the shareholders who are looking to make money out of these now very lucrative commodities. And unfortunately, that's just the world. That's just the world we live in, unfortunately.
You know what's one very, very, very good PC game port? Atomic Heart. Apparently that runs
really
perfect.
I haven't played that yet. I'm waiting for it to go on sale because I've been waiting for it for a while. But I mean I've got other stuff to play, like now Jedi Survivor. But I with PC, the main reason I got a PC, apart from using it for like video editing and stuff like that, I have the ability to game on my PC so I can play games with my friends. That's like the sole reason. My main thing to play games on is my PlayStation. But then like if there are games like a game like Atomic Heart, I want to play on a PC because it's a better experience with a mouse and keyboard for a game like that. I normally just I'm patient and I wait until they go on sale.
Yeah.
Steam summer sale, looking at you.
Yeah. I buy so many games I never touch on Steam, man. My
same.
Steam lit.
I think I've got a Steam library of like over like 80 games, and I've played like 10 of them.
All right, Joe. I think we can end it here. We hit the 2-hour mark.
Yeah. Seems like it's good enough time as any.
Yeah, it's a place to stop. And I'm probably going to go finish off Pope's Exorcist.
Nice. I'm going to make myself some dinner.
And see if Russell Crowe defeats the demons. Probably will. He's really good in it. I was surprised. Wow. I'm not surprised by how good
good actor. Very good actor.
It was a fine movie. Movie so far. We'll see. All right, Joe. It's been a blast. Man, I really missed this. I really missed him doing the podcast. I hadn't noticed how much I missed it until I got really excited driving home.
Hopefully next week we're all back. We should. I mean, you can tell me your thoughts on Evil Dead Rise, which I'm sure you're going to enjoy.
Definitely.
I believe we're all three of us planning to watch Guardians of the Galaxy this week. I'm actually breaking my oath for that one on the grounds of it is the final James Gunn MCU movie. So I think that's as good enough reason as any to break my streak of having not seen a Marvel film in theaters since Endgame. So
we might have to do the podcast on Tuesday next week if that's
okay. Yeah, that's absolutely fine.
I think if I'm going to fit in Evil Dead Rise and Guardians and play a bit of Redfall to get that in the review, I might need an extra day to get that all in.
Absolutely fine.
But looking forward to it. Can't wait for my rant on Redfall. Can't wait to praise Evil Dead Rise. And can't wait to, I'm curious to see what our reactions will be to Guardians.
Yeah, apparently early critics' reactions are pretty good.
Yep.
Apparently the best MCU movie since Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. So do with that information what you will.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I was very excited. Now you've got me a bit worried there. But we'll see. But thank you, Joe, as always. It's been
Always a pleasure.
Really good fun, as always. Thank you, everyone, for watching. If you liked this episode, as always, usual stuff, like, subscribe. If you're watching on Spotify, don't forget to favorite this. Hearts. I think there's the download it.
Yeah.
That's good for the algorithm. If you're watching this on YouTube, comment, let us know what you thought about the episode. Let us know about what are your expectations for Guardians of the Galaxy. And Mortat comes out on Wednesday. So yeah.
Yeah, tomorrow. No, today? What day is it?
Today.
It's Wednesday now.
Yeah. So Guardians, excited to go watch it. Are you going to go watch Evil Dead Rise? If you're from Malta, finally it's come out. Let us know in the comment section below. And as always, guys, peace. Ciao, ciao.
Peace out.